everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
A text says, "You're on my mind." A bouquet from 1-800-Flowers says, "You're my everything." Heartfelt moments belong in the real world, not just your phone. For 50 years, 1-800-Flowers has helped millions of people make memories that'll last a lifetime with gifts they'll cherish forever. Their expertly curated arrangements and gift baskets ship nationwide with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Don't wait for the next big moment. Make it when you visit 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM today. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, they found their cousin to be an annoying blowhard. Then he got arrested for hiring a hitman to murder his ex-wife, which didn't improve their opinion of him. We're talking about the podcast, The Idiot, from Serial Productions and the New York Times. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of The Final Curtain, it's Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, our captain of all things cynical, author of the City Trilogy, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Phalians, Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast, Toby Ball. Hola, Nano.
Hey, Rebecca.
So, Kevin, this is Monday's program.
It is.
What's coming up on Thursday's show?
On Thursday, we're talking about the Netflix true crime series, The Predator of Seville.
Wow.
Reminds me of the documentary. Doesn't remind me of this, but the title reminds me of that Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd. Isn't there like The Barber of Seville? No, I think Toby talked about this last time.
No, that's
an
Little
actual
fucking
opera.
Rascals.
These are Little Rascals, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
For God's
something
sakes.
internalized
The Barber
in the
of
back.
Seville. That one?
No, it's The Barber of Seville. It's got it's
That's
probably
different.
completely different.
That's right.
It's a whole other thing, and I probably just put those words to it.
So, Laura, we had to start this podcast a little bit later. You don't have to give any details, but you're now like a trial subpoena server as part of your investigative work?
Oh, I have been. Yes.
Yeah. What's that like, telling someone they have to show up to court?
Well, I do it. I'm the most friendly subpoena server you're ever going to see. You know, I'm always like, I try to arrange. I tell people ahead of time. I'm not like Dog the Bounty Hunter. I'm like subpoena with a smile. So,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. And sometimes people do hide from
Coming
me.
to get you. Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I am going to probably show up at your place of work, but I'm going to be really nice when I come in. Hi.
Yeah. I've always say that, a lot of times I think people underestimate the lengths to which people will go to avoid getting involved in like a police matter or a criminal matter. Do you find that's the case when you serve subpoenas? People are like, no, I don't want to be involved.
Well, I will say it's usually ahead of time when people don't want to be involved. Like if you reach out to somebody and they're like, yeah, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Or then they'll be like, well, does this mean I have to go to court? And I'll be like, well, I'm not the lawyer. I'm just the fact finder. So that's not up to me.
Yeah. The fact is, yes, but I'm going to tell you I don't know.
I'm like, well, we shall see. It depends on
All
what you
right.
tell me.
God, your job is so interesting. All right, Kevin, should we talk about the podcast we are supposed to be talking about in this episode?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. Leading off.
By the time they arrived, I no longer lived at home, so I didn't have much of a relationship with them. Never really wanted to, because I didn't like my aunt. And as Alan grew up, I realized, even from a distance, that I didn't particularly like him either.
Journalist M. Gessen's cousin Alan rubbed everyone in their family the wrong way, an annoying windbag who moved from one hustle to another. To win his custody dispute with his ex-wife, he tried to get her deported. He kidnapped their son and fled the country twice. And finally, he was arrested by the FBI for hiring a hitman to kill her.
I don't know how to say this, but like there is a cheaper way and probably a more permanent way to do it, but
A more permanent way. In case Alan didn't understand what David was getting at.
Is there?
yeah. I mean, that's up to you.
I'm perfectly prepared to proceed.
Alan would like to proceed.
With relatives holding different opinions on Alan's actions, Gessen decided to dig deeper into the family dynamic. After talking with the people at the center of the affair, Gessen came to the conclusion that Alan is an idiot.
In theory, I knew that this kind of thing can happen in any family. Anyone's first cousin could be plotting murder. Upstanding citizens are always turning out to be secret criminals. And I wouldn't even call Alan an upstanding citizen.
In The Idiot from Serial Productions and the New York Times, M. Gessen recounts what happened when their pompous cousin is implicated in a murder-for-hire plot. They offer a grim yet humorous look at a family dynamic punctuated by codependence and irritation. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from The Idiot. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So, Laura, why is this podcast called The Idiot?
That's my question. I mean, I get it. We think Alan's an idiot, but I feel like there was a name that could have better encompassed what this was about. I feel like The Idiot might be more like a book title. It didn't resonate with me. I felt like the title to me didn't make me want to actually listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, who came up with this title?
I think it was Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
I think it's
Also
referencing a
Russian
Dostoevsky story, I think.
Do they ever say that in the podcast?
It's implied, Rebecca.
Oh, it's assumed knowledge for the listener?
Well, it's because they're Russians. They all talk about Dostoevsky.
But also, like, positioning him as an idiot, I actually kind of like that as the perfectly dismissive put down for somebody who's really what an idiot, right? You know, you call him a dick, a fool, or whatever, but, you know, just an idiot. I mean, I don't know if the title would make me want to listen. I like the cover art a lot. I thought that was pretty nice.
It's from a painting, right?
It's kind of a painting, yeah, like a guy with a bald head.
I think it's from like a piece of a painting.
I believe, because I was looking for it, it was something done for, commissioned for this, but, you know, somebody, very Norman Rockwell-esque, right? Some guy with a big bald head being coddled by his mother while he's got like a, you know, big ice cream cone on his head. It seemed to kind of track with some of this story.
Yeah. I'll say one thing. Alan's not an idiot. He's actually super smart, which is like a surprise that sort of unveils itself throughout the podcast.
But you can be smart and an idiot.
So, Toby, can you talk a little bit about M. Gessen, the storyteller and reporter behind this show?
Yeah, so M. Gessen, I think it's like one of the very small handful of best sort of journalists and sort of essayists about totalitarianism. They came from Russia. They've written a lot about Russia. They've written about America's trend towards totalitarianism. Like, I've read a ton of their stuff and found it really valuable. And I was really interested to see what this podcast was going to be about, just because I think they're super smart, and I wanted to see what was going to come out of it. But I think the worst case scenario in this situation is that people kind of respect them so much and think they're so insightful that they end up putting out this thing that's not really all that good, just because they're expecting that M themselves is going to like add the extra something to it. And in this particular case, it just didn't feel quite as though that happened.
Can you talk a little bit about their immigrant story? Because you have a note about that, and I'm curious to know what you mean.
Well, I mean, I think it's M. Gessen and their brother Keith Gessen is a big writer too, although I can't quite remember what he's written, but he's definitely a name that pops up all the time. And they talk about how he was like in high school was like the man, and then he went to Harvard. And so they're both like wildly successful writers, and their parents are immigrants from Russia. And then even Alan, the idiot, M talks about him like showing up and being at school and dressing funny and wanting to shake everybody's hand and being this really sort of oddball person. But, you know, he ends up, you know, he was working for, what the hell was he working for? One of those big consulting firms.
Oh, McKinsey.
McKinsey in Russia, and making a bunch of money. You could see he was kind of entrepreneurial when he was having kids at Harvard write papers for kids at, you know, these other schools and like Babson and stuff in the area.
Alan is a clown, a blowhard, a pompous ass. He would call himself an entrepreneur. He started his first business in college. He hired students to ghostwrite papers for other, wealthier students. He went to law school and got fired from his first job. He later told me this was because his fine legal mind made the other lawyers insecure.
So, I think there's different levels of success here, but it does feel like this, especially M and Keith Gessen's family, it just seems like this is kind of like the immigrant dream, is that you move to America and then the next generation, those kids end up being super successful and that clearly worked.
Yeah. I mean, he's also a lawyer, and I know there are a lot of lawyers who are like not the smartest people in the world, but going to law school and passing the bar and all that stuff is hard. Like, I know enough lawyers to know that it's not an easy feat. It requires a ton of hard work, and it does also require some brains. And that's something that they sort of drop in the podcast as well, and I think that's interesting. So, Kevin, what do you think about the writing in this podcast? Because I'm guessing clearly that's their strength, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why you have them doing this. The writing is doing a lot of heavy lifting because this plot doesn't have a lot of twists. It doesn't have a lot of beats. And in some ways, we can appreciate a bloodless crime and a peculiar character. I just don't really know if there's like a whole lot to grab onto here. Like what would make this successful is like a really great voice, a really great writing style. M has some of that. There are certain asides or things like that are very humorous and, and well done. But I don't know if it carries 5 episodes. Dan Taberski could probably do something like this, right? That if you kind of lean into it and achieve an effect of a different kind, M is good, and I feel like this would have made like an excellent This American Life piece, something that was 20 minutes or, maybe an hour at the most. But I just don't feel like there's enough there to like get us to really feel like, oh, this is a good podcast.
You absolutely hit the nail on the head, Kevin. The entire time I was listening to this show, I was like, why isn't this either an essay and an audio product, like a 1-part thing? Or why isn't it been pitched to This American Life? And it's a This American Life story. Now, granted, Serial no longer belongs to This American Life, so obviously it's a whole different enterprise, but they all know each other. There's an ecosystem there. And the decision to make this into a 5-part series, I think, was very much based on 2 things. One, like as Toby said, the respect for M. Gessen and their reporting and writing, and the sort of assumption that, God, if anyone from the show is listening to this, please don't take this with some grace, please. There's a snobbery that we will all appreciate something that the team appreciates. There's just sort of this idea of like assumed knowledge, assumed taste, assumed everything. And there's an out of touchness to it that I feel like probably led to them saying, oh, this can carry 5 episodes. Like, I think about a podcast like We Were 3, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Really intense show, about a woman sort of dealing with her politically estranged dad and brother, the COVID situation, the death. And that was 3 episodes. And there was like a lot of story there, a lot of like twists and turns. And it was about a family. 5 seems long, especially when, as I agree with you, Kevin.
The first was 22 minutes and then the second was like almost an hour.
Yeah.
They were all uneven.
Yeah, I truly believe this story could have been told. I mean, they're talking about, and that wasn't even the bad act. The bad act is yet to come.
Yeah.
And then we hear about the bad act, and I'm like, okay, so what's the bad act? Like, and granted,
oversold it.
Trying to hire a contract killer to murder your ex is not great, but it also didn't work. So,
but that also wasn't what Alan was after to begin with. He got upsold.
He got entrapped.
Upsold by the FBI agent.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have an example here of Flynn's second law of true crime. Remember, the first law has to do like you're not a cult unless
you have tremendous amounts of video footage of you doing boring things.
Flynn's second law of true crime is if you think you're talking to a hitman, you are not talking to a hitman.
Yeah.
This comes up over and over again. I thought I was talking to a hitman.
Yeah.
Can I just add, I think the other thing that I was thinking of is that there's sort of a mutual lending of cred here. Like, I think M. Gessen being part of the Serial franchise lends Serial some cred, and I think the fact that their story gets picked up by the sort of flagship thing, and it's not necessarily like a diss on either one of them, but I did kind of feel like there was that kind of
force multiplier.
Yeah, exactly. Or that was
it's the
that would have been
effect.
the best possible outcome.
Which
did not
I mean, I call it the
occur.
Gladwell effect because I think a lot of people believe Malcolm Gladwell is awesome because they've heard him on This American Life, and that's the only reason, because they've never actually read anything he's written or understood much of what he actually says is total BS. But Ira Glass liked him, so he must be awesome. So, Laura, this story, you wrote a note that it's about what? Is it a true crime? Is it about something else?
No, I think honestly, this felt more like a study in dysfunctional family dynamics set within the context of a different culture and how that then translates into this story where you have this extremely overbearing Russian mother with zero boundaries who's like literally a boundary steamroller who has never even heard the word boundary.
I've never seen Lena throw a tantrum, but I've seen that when it comes to Alan, Lena often got her way.
Like on almost every holiday that we went on, I don't know if you recall, she was always with us. That was not because I enjoyed having her around, but it was because I knew that she would make his life harder if she didn't come. And I didn't want to make things more difficult for him, so I gave in.
So it was more, to me, like a study of family dysfunction than a crime story. But within that, I'm going to echo what other people said. I feel like this felt like the medium should be something else. It felt like, is this a novel like Jonathan Franzen? Like, is this like a one-episode podcast? Is this long-form journalism in the written form? Because I felt like the writing for me sort of felt flat. And I think if you were interested in family dynamics, yeah, this is like family dynamics on steroids, where you have custody situation and international dynamics at play where somebody's taking a child out of the country and what laws relate to that. And how does the family react? But to the normies, we probably sound like really like jaded when we're like, oh, it's just a murder for hire plot. Like he didn't succeed. But like that wasn't the original story here. And I think this is a story of family more so than a story of crime.
You can join our family at Patreon. It's patreon.com/partners in crime media. What? No, nothing?
Business section.
No, come on. That was so
I was waiting till you finished your sentence. I get a lot of criticism for interrupting, so I was waiting till you finish your sentence. It's a business section.
It's a business section. God. Man, okay. Just call me a roll. Just call me butter, because I'm on a roll.
Oh.
God, call me a roll.
Call me a roll.
Butter, baby.
That's right. Cooler than the other side of the pillow.
I love it when you say that.
So
you're the cat's pajamas.
If you're at patreon.com/partners in crime media, you can support this podcast and you get exclusive content, including the Crime Writers on After show. This week we have our own mystery at Casa de Flinvoy. Somebody has lost a ring and continues to lose rings.
It's a fucking mystery.
Fucking mystery. I'll just say that somebody thought the house was haunted today.
Yes.
We'll get into that.
I wasn't alone, by the way.
Well, I didn't think the house was haunted.
Yes, okay.
But it's very peculiar because it's not a bunch of rings. It's always just all the rings except one.
Right.
How's that for a hook?
Yes. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Or at least a mystery to me. As Laura Bricker would say.
As Laura Bricker would say
Trademark.
in her podcast, Leave It to Bricker, where Laura solves mysteries, or at least mysteries to her in her quaint AF town of Exeter, New Hampshire. On the next Leave It to Bricker, Laura is going to learn how to play a horn, but not just any horn. The Alpine horn.
A Ricola horn.
Ricola. Yeah.
Oh, I feel so bad for those Alpine horn players when we went to Switzerland, because literally every single time we saw one of those guys drag one of those out, somebody in the crowd would be like, Ricola. They must be so sick of that.
Yeah. Imagine the first time someone's like, what is this? Oh, it's a cough drop commercial in America.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. I spent 13 years at the academy perfecting my lip.
Yes. And by the way, the Swiss version of the Ricola, those are intense freaking cough drops.
Gross.
They're not like the ones they sell here. No.
Yeah.
No, it's like lye.
Yeah. It tastes like dung. That's how you know it works.
Wow. Banned in the U.S.
You can get Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, where Toby and his special guests talk about a book. And this time, Toby is talking about This House of Grief. Toby, you had the discussion. Tell us about your guests and how it went.
Yeah, I had Barbara O'Brien from Michigan State and Elise McGovern from University of North South Wales. And I mean, the book is really good and interesting, and there's a lot to talk about. And we had an interesting discussion about what sort of the holes in the case might have been, and then just generally fawning over the writing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good conversation.
Wonderful. Other exclusive podcasts include our advice podcast, Married with Podcast, and Rebecca's True Crime Roots podcast, going back to the roots with Something's Off. And you and Mel talk about, among other things, those new filings in the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case.
Oh, my God. And also, this is the audio version you're getting. Of course, you can also watch the video version on YouTube. So,
and if you join us at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get episodes of Crime Writers on early and ad-free, and Deep Divers get to be official sponsors of Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Hey, other things you can do to sponsor us. You can sign up for our free newsletter. Comes out on Thursdays. Just go to crimewriterson.com. Put your name in there. I think finally, I realized that I need like some kind of two-factor authentication for folks, a CAPTCHA or something, because I kept getting bot signups from Russia. So I think M. Gessen's extended family is coming after me with weird email signups. So
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's M. Gessen.
That feels unlikely.
Yeah,
feels unlikely.
Yes. It's doubtful.
Maybe it's Alan. I don't know. Maybe
we haven't even dropped this review yet. What would be the motive?
That's just anticipation. Also, join us on our Facebook discussion group. It's on Facebook. I know you have Facebook. You keep saying you're going to get rid of it because something horrible happens in the world, but you come back to it.
You know why?
And every day someone keeps joining our group.
Because you want to see how in your high school class the men look like shit and the women look fucking awesome. That's why you stay on Facebook.
I went to a funeral and I said the same thing. All the women turned out okay and all these guys look like shit.
Yes.
Except for Kevin Flynn.
Oh, thank you very much.
Kevin
I think
Flynn.
My straight bear.
Yeah, I think I did all right. Okay, so again, all that plus more. Join us at patreon.com/partners in crime media.
Kevin?
Yes.
Does thus end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Let's go ahead and fade that music out.
Hey everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
So Kevin, who is sponsoring this fine episode?
Oh, it's our friends from Quince.
My favorite friends.
Spring is here, and it's perfect time for a closet reset, focusing more on quality over quantity. And this season, build a wardrobe of pieces that are well-made, versatile, and easy to reach for every day with Quince. Now, Rebecca, you are, I don't want to say the official Quince ambassador.
I am. I am accepting the role proudly.
Okay, you accept that role. Tell us about the latest thing that you got from Quince.
Well, Kevin, this isn't the latest thing, but it's my favorite thing, and it's time to take it out of the closet.
Okay.
My cognac leather motorcycle jacket.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I have one in black now, too, by the way. After I wore the first one like 50 times in 40 days, I immediately had to buy the other one. Yes, I love these leather jackets. They're incredibly high quality for the price, and just incredibly high quality and gorgeous, period. Every single time I wear them, I get so many compliments, and spring means it's leather jacket season.
Refresh your spring wardrobe with Quince.
Quince!
Go to quince.com/crime.
Crime.
For free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too.
Yeah.
Go to QUINCE.com/crime.
Crime.
For free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Crime.
When you need to send the perfect rose bouquet, only one brand can say they've been the floral authority for 50 years. 1-800-Flowers. Why should you trust 1-800-Flowers? They hand-select every stem to ensure top quality. And with nationwide delivery, smiles and satisfaction are 100% guaranteed. And right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses, we'll double it at no extra cost. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want a mother-in-law like Alan's mom?
Who would want a mother-in-law? Nobody would want a mother-in-law like that.
Priscilla's mother-in-law.
But who wouldn't want a mother like that? I will say, look, I think this podcast has its interesting moments. Like I said, there are bits of humor and some good writing, even if this is not like an exceptional or memorable crime or presentation. But I will say that I did enjoy this whole thing about the overbearing mother, right? So like a bit of a stereotype, a bit of a trope, that she's interfering or dawdling. But this whole like scene where Priscilla spots Alan being comforted by his mother, who's like stroking his bald head, is just so fucking funny.
And I think it was like on the second day or something, we had a disagreement, like a fight. And he left our room And I didn't know that he had done this, but he went to his mom's room. And I found him later. I was walking past her room and she had like these doors that opened out. So I just looked in and I saw him like lying on her bed and she was like lying there, like stroking his hair. I found that, his head. I found that so weird. I was like, wow, this is a grown man.
I think it's probably the best show don't tell scene I've heard of. It projects so much about the dynamics and the personalities of the people involved without having to say much more. So I thought that was, I'll give M credit for bringing that one in because I thought that was really good.
Laura, what are your thoughts about Alan's mom?
Yeah, that was a lot. I was, I think it shows just no matter where he gets to in life, he's never really going to have his own thoughts or his own opinions or his own ability to do anything because she is always going to be there. And I think the part that really got me about her was like, she just didn't fucking care who told her no. Like when the judge told her no when she was trying to get the grandparents' rights or whatever, and then she just kept showing up and kept doing things, like violating court orders. And she's just like, what? And then when Priscilla sees her and she's like, oh, what are you doing here? And she's like, what? Oh, you live here? Oh, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I'm like, this woman, what was her background? Like, she seems like she was in like some sort of undercover op, or she's just like that overbearing mom on steroids, like the Russian version of a helicopter parent who you could never get away from. And she was a lot.
Yeah.
With the, I don't like you because you don't read books. So I don't like this because that. And I was like, oh, wow. Like,
yeah,
red flag.
But so much of the story, Toby, including M. Gessen's sort of thinking about Alan's pathology, revolves around this relationship with his mother. And there's this whole like speculation about how that came to be. What did you think about that section of the show?
It felt to me like Alan and then the grandkids were sort of the mom's projects. Like she says that she married her husband because he had a good head of hair and was smart or rich or something. but essentially it was just like, I got him for his genes. Like I married this guy because I liked his genetic makeup. And so I want to have this kid and this kid's going to be my project and I'm going to make him into this whatever. So yeah, I mean, and she doesn't appear to ever let go. And at the end, and maybe this is what you're referring to, Rebecca, M has this kind of theory about how they'd heard that people who do evil things are doing things to try and silence these voices in their heads, which I'm just like, I don't know if that's quite right. But then that kind of later becomes this theory that trying to manage raising the son with like these two competing women in his life, trying to tell him what to do or trying to take care of the kid themselves or whatever, was just like too much. And so he kind of had to make a decision about where he was going to cast his lot, and in doing that had to sort of vilify Priscilla and sort of empower his mom as much as he could. But then once he got into the hitman situation, all those plans kind of fell apart.
It really sounds like Alan would have benefited from M's dad being one of his parents.
Fuck yeah. Mm-hmm.
That dude seemed awesome.
Yeah.
My father loves having family around. The whole reason he lives in a big house on Cape Cod is so that his 4 kids and 5 grandkids gather around him. But the house has seen better days, and all the kids and some of the grandkids have busy lives.
He's like, I have the party house. I'm smart. I'm reasonable. When someone does something wrong, I give him a chance, but then it's over. Love that guy. Absolutely love that guy. Kevin, we hear some extensive prison interview tape in this podcast. M decides to talk to Alan, and that turns into, again, a huge tease in one of the episodes that we're going to hear about in the next episode. Like, I decided to talk to him myself. What do you think of these long series of interviews that we hear with Alan?
Well, I mean, again, some interesting perspectives from an unreliable narrator. It's sort of like not anything that we haven't heard before. Again, you get to like maybe start drawing your own conclusions. But yeah, and again, this is a guy who does not seem very self-reflective in the sense that in the end, M is upset because Alan won't admit that he tried to assassinate his ex-wife, and like, is that really a surprise? Can I just point out one extra textual thing here? Toby mentioned this last week, I think, when we were off air, that he saw on Instagram Ira Glass interviewing M. Gessen in preparation of this dropping, and is praising M for like reinventing the form of true crime podcasting because the crime is within the family. And I'm like, talk about fucking out of touch, Ira Glass. Toby just did the jerk off motion. And, I mean, he said, like, because it's in the Serial feed. It's like, well, Serial invented true crime podcasting, and not quite, but okay, fine.
Criminal was out before Serial.
Yeah, I mean, like, certainly revolutionized. Serial gets a lot of credit, okay? But, like, this is hardly the first time this has been explored. I mean, we got Devil in the Ditch, Happy Face, The Clearing. We did Lords of Death. We did Crook County. There are so many that are just people in the family, as opposed to also people that you know, or we just did Adults in the Room, other personal stories where you go back. It's just like, maybe...
Expand your horizons and listen to some stuff.
Right. But then it goes on, and I bring it up because then they point out, like, oh, yeah, well, it's so close to Serial because we also have discussions on the telephone with someone in prison. And again, now Toby's like doing the pinching the nose thing. Like, how many podcasts have done this particular thing? So many of them. This is hardly...
It's standard.
You're not
like
reinventing
a cliche.
Fucking anything. Yeah, it's actually cliche now,
Yeah.
So... Yeah, so I was just like... and I have like more I want to say about Serial production.
Go ahead. Say it.
Well, I mean, I think the difference here is like Serial and Serial Productions sort of always attempt to tell a larger story through a smaller one, right?
Yeah.
The zoom out from Serial Season 2. So we had like Nice White Parents and the Improvement Association, which are really about race and society. You got the Retrievals and the Preventionists, which looks at more like systemic issues. And even like their other true crime stuff, like the Coldest Case in Laramie, like they find something different to explore, like Memory was in that one, right? And S-Town might be the outlier as just sort of maybe not anything else there except for what it is, but it remains a classic.
Super weird story. Let's make a podcast.
Yeah, let's make a podcast. But it's okay if the idiot explores like a mid-crime like this, but it doesn't say anything about anything else. So we're left with a mid-crime.
Yeah. And a narcissistic person. And I don't know about you, Laura, but I have gotten to the point in my life at 52 where when I hear about a narcissist in a story, I get it immediately because... Yeah. We've met these people in our lives. You especially working in the criminal legal system. I'm sure you encounter people all the time who have a highly inflated version of their story when really they just did something real stupid, right? So is that a bigger thing? Hey, meet this narcissist. Is that an important thing? Is that a bigger thing? Is it a bigger thing to be like, hey, son with a crappy mom turns into a crappy husband? Like, is there a bigger thing here?
I think this is something now that you're seeing everywhere. Like, just log into like any social media, Instagram, and I get these reels like, what is your attachment style? Are you an anxious attacher? Are you an avoidant attacher? Are you this? Did you have a narcissistic parent and now you are the victim of narcissistic abuse? And I don't mean to say it in a like flippant way because it's real what people have gone through, but it's something that we hear about a lot.
There's a whole TikTok silo about this stuff.
Yeah, it's not something that we haven't heard about a lot. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, but what's new here, right? Like, what's new here? Like, I think the most interesting part of this podcast for me was I was actually looking at Ellen's mother as the narcissist here. And I was looking at her as being the one that was in control. So I was looking at this as like emotional incest where the son takes on the role of the spouse or the partner for the mother. And then there's this like really toxic dynamic between those two. But we hear a lot about narcissism. We hear a lot. Everybody likes to say that. Like, that's a word. Oh, I dated a narcissist. Or, that person's a narcissist. And it's like, it's a term that's thrown around a lot. And that's not to say that it's not valid, because I have seen legitimate cases where there was somebody you're like, whoa, that is actually like a personality disorder. Yeah. And that is actually a very valid set
like
of...
Kevin.
Oh, stop it.
I think the thing is like, what's new here? What is interesting in this story to somebody outside the host's family and friends and the people that greenlit the project that makes this a new approach to something that we've heard a lot about in terms of these terms that are being thrown around, right? What am I going to take away from this that I didn't know ahead of time? That's something that I'm like, wow, I'm really glad I listened to that because that gave me a different perspective on something.
So, Toby, they do say at the end that there was a reason why they made this podcast. Can you talk about that statement and whether or not you think it ends up ringing true?
Yeah, so towards the end, they kind of make a comment that, I'm going to get this slightly wrong, I'm sure, but that they're basically making it sort of for themselves to understand Alan and to show the family sort of the reality of what had happened. And if that was the goal, they probably achieved it. But that kind of leaves the audience out of it a little bit, out of the equation. And there's a lot of time when I was like, why am I listening to this? Because I got the feeling that, like, if one of us had this family and we pitched the same story to Serial, I don't think they would have been like, oh yeah, we're on top of this. Yeah, that'd be awesome if you made it. I mean, I think it's because it's Gessen and they've earned the respect for sure, but that doesn't turn it into a good podcast. Or, at the end of the day, does this move the needle in podcasting? Because I think I sort of feel like that's what
it has
Serial
reinvented the form.
It has reinvented the form. But besides that, Kevin, because I do think that's, that's kind of what you like Serial. Like, I don't think they hit the heights as much as would be great or whatever, but it's a little bit like a Spielberg movie where it's like, you don't expect him to come out with something that's just sort of run of the mill. You expect something that has ambition and is seeking to push the envelope a little bit. And this just didn't feel that way to me.
Laura, do you agree that, Toby said this, and I'm thinking this too, and I want to get your opinion. Would this podcast have hit differently if it had been on Pushkin Industries or iHeart or what used to be Wondery, as opposed to Serial Productions? If Gessen had taken this to Slate or somebody like that and they did this podcast?
That's an interesting concept.
Like, the prestige isn't there, right?
Well, the prestige isn't there, but they could have made it a little bit snappier, because I think for me, where I struggled with this is that the narration felt kind of flat at times. Like, the writing was very good, but the writing was, I think, for a different medium. And I think if you went to something like a more traditional kind of podcast storytelling platform where we have a little, your favorite thing, Kevin, a little Foley, a little bit of breaking up the narration, making it structured in a way that it felt a little bit more momentum and suspense in the way that we were listening to it. Like, this felt more like an audiobook to me. And I think that's who this story might appeal to, is people who want a crime story without sort of that grit of a traditional true crime story, but with the prestige of the Serial podcasting network putting it out, because that's like great water cooler conversation. Oh, did you listen to the latest thing from Serial? You did, but I don't remember half of it because it kind of just sort of, I even listened to this twice because I was like, okay, maybe I need to give this another chance. But I think the last 2 episodes for me were the most interesting episodes of this. Seeing that progression in how M goes from viewing Alan one way to actually feeling empathy, because I think that's important. A lot of times we see people in that criminal justice system and we immediately are like, it's black or white, and it's often gray. And I think, I came away seeing the gray in this. I understand how Alan became Alan based on his mother. And that, I understand that. But I also think this isn't going to appeal to certain types of podcast listeners because of the way that story was told. Whereas if you reframed it and repackaged it to make it a little punchier, it would have landed differently, I think.
Hi, I'm Jenny Slate, and believe it or not, someone is allowing us to have a podcast.
I'm Gabe Liedman.
I'm Max Silvestri, and we've been friends for 20 years, and we like to reach out to kind of get advice on how to live our lives.
It's called I Need You Guys.
Should I give my baby fresh vegetables?
Can I drink the water at the hospital?
My landlord plays the trombone, and I can't ask him to stop.
You should make sure that you subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
I need you guys.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews, all on the app. Download today.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about. Like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Close your eyes. Focus. Listen to work getting done with Monday.com. Relax as AI does the manual work, while your teams are aligned on a single source of truth. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform, so flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Notice you're limitless. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally, breathe.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out The Idiot from Serial Productions and the New York Times? Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for The Idiot?
I'm going mild thumbs down with this. Here's the thing. I think there is a segment of the population that listens to podcasts that will want to listen to this podcast, but it's not me. I think for me, this just felt more like a novel or like a long form magazine article that had been turned into a podcast, and it lacked sort of that narrative suspense that would make me want to keep listening to it. I think it wasn't so much a crime podcast as a study in family dynamics and dysfunctional family dynamics. And I think there were some parts of this that I found interesting in terms of somebody, the main character, and the evolution of empathy and how we can start to understand other people's circumstances and how they landed where they did based on their upbringing. But overall, I just kind of felt like, who was this podcast made for? We listen to a lot of this. I think this podcast is made for people that really like this host and like this host's previous writing and will probably want to listen to or read anything that this host does. And there was a lot of great research. There were a lot of voices. All the voices that we wanted to hear from, for the most part, were in this. But kind of at the end of the day, I was just kind of underwhelmed by this. I didn't feel like I left it having gained any insight into something that I didn't have before, or didn't leave me with that, oh, wow, I can't wait to tell somebody about this. So that is a mild thumbs down.
Toby Ball.
So I'm one of those people that Laura was talking about when she said, like, people who really like the host writing and all this stuff. Like I over the years have really found Gessen's writing to be really insightful, and I've learned a lot from them and all that. That being said, I'm a mild thumbs down as well. And in some ways, I think there is this aspect of bringing sort of a true crime lens to look at this story. Although I think it was somewhat marketed as true crime because there is like a crime that's kind of in there. But the interesting parts aren't the crime parts. And the crime parts, there were times when I was like kind of looking forward to what was coming next because it seemed like it ought to be interesting. And then it almost always was kind of disappointing, like the way things actually played out in those moments. I was just always sort of underwhelmed. So, you know, the fact that the better parts of it were not crime related, but are more about, as Laura was saying, you know, family dynamics and, you know, some individual stories. And so if that's what you want to listen to, it's probably fine. But for me, it doesn't really move the bar very much. So anyway, it doesn't feel great just because I was excited to listen to this, and it's somebody I admire a lot, but in this particular product, I didn't think it was that good. So mild thumbs down.
Kevin Flynn.
I was going to go sideways, but I think I got to go a mild thumbs down. I mean, is the only interesting thing about this podcast that the crime happened in the family of a prominent journalist? You know, it seems to me that's what it is. And, you know, you've got a lot of the elements, a lot of the ingredients. You got eggs, you got butter, and you got flour, but this isn't a cake, right? It's half baked. It just, nothing is in the right proportion. And you can't get anything out of it.
There's no baking soda.
I was about to say, there's no baking soda.
Do you need baking soda? I
Sure.
guess so. All right,
It depends
fine.
on what cake you're making, but
I don't know. I never make a cake, so maybe it's an omelet. I don't know, but it's just this isn't a true crime podcast, and that's fine. We listen to a lot of quote true crime podcasts that are really about other things, and Serial Productions has thrown out a lot of those. Whether it seems like it's true crime and it tackles systemic issues or something a little more cerebral, the family dynamics here. I don't know. I mean, we have heard all of these things before. We really have. Family members who've committed crimes and hosts that do their own investigation. And yeah, talking to somebody on the telephone in prison, that's not new. And, it's all of this has been done before. I'm kind of disappointed because this is a really great journalist here and it's probably very interesting to them, but it's just not as interesting to me or, you can find more substantial things on the top 10 list of any podcast player. So a mild thumbs down.
I am also a thumbs down. To me, this podcast is like the apex predator of people who all read the same things and listen to the same things, being in a room and saying, this is interesting to me and to us, so therefore everybody will think it's interesting. That's just not the case. When somebody you like and admire and respect comes to you with a story idea, or you solicit a story idea, this could have been 2 episodes. It could have been 1 episode. It could have been a story on This American Life, which we discussed in the show. Sure, the writing is strong and it sounds good, but I kept waiting as I was listening to it for something to happen. And I know that something did happen in M's life when they were doing this work and looking into the story. That was big and revelatory for M. And for me as a listener, I was like, yeah. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, you gave a dick the benefit of the doubt. What did you think was going to happen? If you want to listen to a podcast like this, but good, for real, if you have not listened to Devil in the Ditch, listen to Devil in the Ditch. That podcast is fantastic. It is about a person with maybe a criminal in their family who then does a lot of legwork and a lot of investigative stuff right at home. And it is really revelatory and great, and to me felt very fresh and new. And when I think about it, it really is one of my all-time favorite shows that we've reviewed. And that's not what this is. I'm just very disappointed. I feel like a disappointed aunt. I'm very disappointed.
How about a disappointed, overbearing mother?
Yeah. I mean,
you want to rub my bald head?
Really, as you know, Kevin, I'm not. And people think that Rebecca hates the Serial team. That's not true. I love the Retrievals. They've made some really good stuff that I've loved. They do have a style that is left over from This American Life that I hate, which is the host flat reads. I hate the flat read. That's why I couldn't stand The Coldest Case in Laramie. The read was so awful. And this kind of has a similar vibe where it's listen to this very flat read of a story that we super think is interesting and that we edited in a way that we think is interesting. But I feel like this is the kind of show that smart people pretend to like to impress other smart people. And I'm smart.
Ish.
I can't quote Dostoevsky, but I also know a good story when I hear it, and this ain't it. So yeah, thumbs down for me for The Idiot. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime
of the Week.
A deal has been made with an unidentified radio station to bring WKRP to Cincinnati for real. CBS's sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati made stars of Howard Hessman and Lonnie Anderson in the 70s and 80s. The real-life call letters have gone town to town, up and down the dial. For the past decade, they've been used by a low-power community radio station in Raleigh, North Carolina. The transmitter for WKRP-LP is in D.P. McIntyre's garage, and its antenna is attached to his backyard flagpole. And as someone with a podcast studio in a closet in her basement, let me just say, game recognizes game.
Mm-hmm.
McIntyre says he's made a deal with an unidentified company to transfer the call letters to a station in Cincinnati. I mean, it's iHeart, right? Probably. Odyssey or iHeart, it's going to be one of those two. No word if the DJs will include Venus Flytrap and Dr. Johnny Fever, or whether the news director will be Les Nessman. But hopefully this WKRP will not conduct a Thanksgiving turkey drop from a helicopter over the Pinedale Mall.
God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
So panel, 48 years after it debuted on CBS, WKRP in Cincinnati is going to be a real thing. What other classic TV show would you like to see come to the real world? Laura Bricker, what do you think?
This is such a no-brainer. I would like to see Murder, She Wrote come to Quaint AF Exeter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Jessica Fletcher, a.k.a. Laura Bricker.
What about you, Toby? What other classic TV show would you like to see come to the real world?
Baywatch.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I was thinking Petticoat Junction myself. So it's like Baywatch, but a lot more innocent. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Nobody chose Schitt's Creek. I can't believe any of you didn't choose Schitt's Creek. That would 100% be mine.
What about Buck Rogers?
R.I.P. Catherine O'Hara.
Buck Rogers in the 25th century? That
with Daggett?
No, that was you're thinking of
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica.
Had Daggett, yeah.
Had Tweaky.
Tweaky, yes.
Wee.
Laura Bricker, folks want to reach out to you. How can they find you online?
At Laura Bricker on Blue Sky and Instagram.
What about you, Toby Ball? How can you be found?
At TobyBall603 on Instagram, at TobyBallNH on Blue Sky.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin WKRP Flynn.
Nice. You can follow me everywhere at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show everywhere at Crime Writers On and join our Facebook group. Really, it's incredible. Find us on Facebook and then there's a link there to join the group. Get everything we make at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. That includes episodes early and ad-free of this program. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons and our editor is the terrific Livy Burdett. The EP of this show is Kevin.
Yeah.
This show was recorded in the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, the Closet, in a New Hampshire basement where I also soothed Kevin after an argument by stroking his bald head. Facts. Facts. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later. Yeah.
Laura, I know you didn't have television in Vermont, but it's a situation comedy, and it took place at a radio station.
Yes. And she was also too young to watch it.
I know the song because they play it on Yacht Rock Radio in my car.
Yeah, you know she's also too young to have seen that show, right?
No.
She's like
But
a
my
lot
uncle
younger.
lives in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Laura
I'm
Bricker.
on WKRP in Cincinnati.
I listened to it in the Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
Partners in Crime Media.
Hey everyone, it's me, Morgan Stewart, and I have a new podcast called The Morgan Stewart Show. Join me each week as I talk about pop culture, fashion, my personal life, and just a warning, I'm going to be giving my opinion on everything. I'll also have some really fun guests to join in on the fun. The Morgan Stewart Show is out now. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts or watch full video on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. One thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. For decades, Angie's helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find a pro for your project at Angie.com.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com designed for every team. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free.